So, what we're going to look at today, we have called wall butt touches. It's essentially forcing you to learn the hip hinge, and if you mess up, it punishes you by feeling really awkward. One thing you can do is either do it in a mirror or preferably film yourself, because you'll kind of be able to see what's going on, see the deficit, think about it, play around with it without the weight, and then correct on the actual movement itself. So, what you're going to do, grab a 25, or even a 10, but I find 25 is like just heavy enough to get the stimulus, but not so heavy that you're like struggling to hold it and struggling to like get the movement down. So grab roughly a 25. Lighter is better if you do need to go lighter, rather than going heavier for something else if you don't have 25 around. Anyways, so get a wall. You're going to take your foot, your second foot there, and then you're going to place your foot next to it. Get a somewhat narrow stance, enough so your adductors aren't touching anymore. Let's call it your conventional deadlift width. Sorry, I'm like exhausted today. I haven't slept in days. So what you're going to do is you're just going to hold the weight and relax your upper body, right? So most of this is going to come from the hips and the stability through your core, not so much your upper back. So don't worry about your arms and your lats. There's no need to set that. So what you're going to do is, first things first, your feet. If we haven't gone over it, you can find it in the playlist. It's called like something about feet, torque, and glutes. So get your proper rooting up, get your arch, press into it, squeeze your butt, little tiny brace, nothing crazy. And so what you're going to do is, you're going to bend at the hips and let your hips go back with stiff knees. See, I already touched the wall before I maxed out my ability to bend at the hips with my straight knees. So what I'm going to do is take a 2-inch step forward. And we're going to do the same thing. It's going to be a stiff leg RDL. Back, 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 back. And that's about all I have. And I still have not touched the wall yet. So now I'm going to start breaking up the knees. And I feel all this tension in my glutes and my hamstrings. There it is. A very light touch. Very barely touching the wall with my butt or the pole, but you can use whatever you want. So from there, this is not an explosive movement. What it is, though, is keeping your shins straight. So now you're going to correct by kind of sitting down without losing that tension, and you're going to hips forward while keeping the shins straight. So the idea here is get your stiff leg, bend the knees until you're, bam, touching the wall. What you're focusing on is hips forward, pushing through the ground. So you're essentially going to hinge perfectly without your knees pushing forward and without like the hips rising, like in a weird deadlift when that doesn't work out. So get your position, bend the knees, bam, touch, go. You're essentially trying to hump the weight. So the important part here is, or rather, the reason we're doing this is by being able to catch all the tension that you can just before touching the wall. Then you bend your knees. You're learning to maintain that tension in that length tension curve in your hamstrings and everything else. And through there, you can go lower, right there. That's my preferred position. See how my shins are almost perfectly vertical? If not, they might be slightly back, and that's okay too. Because when you start pulling on the bar and you do pull yourself down, your shins will naturally go forward, and that's fine too. So you're here, boom. And it's okay to be awkward up here. A real deadlift isn't locked out here. It's hips through, shoulders locked. So inevitably you're going to be touch, go. Back, 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 touch and go. And the idea behind this is it'll take a couple tries to find out your length tension, like step 1, step 2, and then you do it. That's fine. Take your time, go slow, find where you need to be, and then go. But eventually you'll just learn your personal length tension needs, and so you'll eventually get to and that's essentially what we're doing.